You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
Right now at 7, the city of Joplin celebrates the opening of its newly redesigned Connecticut Avenue.
Also, Kansas lawmakers revisit the issue of legalizing recreational marijuana.
Plus, we've got cold temperatures this morning, but that won't last long this afternoon. I'll have the full rundown coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Elise Noe.
And I'm Chloe Arroyo, 7 o'clock on this Thursday morning.
Yes, here we are just about to wrap up the week. Only a few more weeks left until 2025. Ooh. Christmas right around the corner. As you can see here in our studio, we are all ready for Christmas.
I love it. I'm just getting used to it. I love it all. It's so fun in here. Very fun and festive.
Very festive indeed.
Yeah, it makes it super exciting in here.
Absolutely. Well, something that is good news for the people of Joplin. The city has cut the ribbon to officially celebrate the completion of the Connecticut Avenue widening project.
KOAM's Melissa Alexis shows us how the new design will impact local residents.
Lived here all my life. I was born and raised here. It's been a long time needed.
Ken Copeland is a Joplin resident who lives right off of Connecticut Avenue, and he's had a hard time getting out of his driveway because of backed up traffic.
Before it was a little hard to get out.
But things are changing.
Now being 5 lanes with a turn lane, hopefully it'll make it a little bit easier getting in and out.
The overall project began in 2005, and the final phase of the project is now officially complete.
At first, it seemed like it was going to take forever. We were under construction with the bridge and then as well as widening the road.
And now the community is gathering to celebrate the completion of the $3.8 million project.
Before there wasn't any sidewalks, so now it's going to make it much, much safer for the people that live here as for people that are going to be coming down and either riding their bikes across or walking across.
This last phase of the project widened the north and south corridor to 5 lanes. It also added a 10-foot wide sidewalk and bike trail on the west side of the roadway and a 6-foot wide sidewalk on the east side.
With that width of sidewalk, it makes it a lot safer for combining bicycles and pedestrians on the same walkway.
And now, Copeland, along with others, can enjoy driving on a less congested Connecticut Avenue.
The finished project is just absolutely wonderful.
Reporting in Joplin, Melissa Alexis, KOAM News.
Now, the goal of the project is to improve traffic capacity and safety.
Hey, you know, the safer the better out there with those roads.
Absolutely.
Yes, very much.
And great to see that bike and walking lane added too. I'm sure that'll be utilized greatly, and it's important that people are safe out there when they're traveling, not in their cars.
Absolutely, yeah. And the smoother the pavement, the better, you know.
Absolutely.
For folks out there who want to ride their bikes, even scooters, skateboards. I don't know what else people ride, you know. That's about all I know.
Roller skates.
There you go.
You never know.
Yeah, exactly. That. Oh yeah. Roller skates too, rollerblades, all of that, whatever floats your boat, whatever you want to do. But this morning you wouldn't want to do anything like that. Maybe this afternoon though, you can use your bike and get a good ride out there this afternoon. In fact, those temperatures right now are pretty chilly. So let's go ahead and take a look at those. We're in the lower 30s really across the board. We're slowly starting to warm up, but not by much. Temperatures lower 30s, 30 degrees for Fort Scott as well as Pittsburgh, Miami, just a hair above freezing at 33 degrees. Again, we've got that southerly flow along with us. It's not extreme, but it's still notable, anywhere from 5 to 10 miles per hour across the 4 states in the next couple of hours. Expect that to increase, especially for further eastern counties in southwestern Missouri. You can see your wind gusts upwards of 35 to 40 miles per hour around noon this afternoon. They're going to switch from a southerly flow, and then into the latter half of the day, we'll see more so of a westerly flow before we go into tonight. We'll calm down before we see a cold front push through. Behind that front, we'll see some hefty wind gusts upwards of 30 miles per hour. This is across the entire 4 states. A northwesterly wind will be with us, especially into Friday morning. So really keep that in mind. I feel like temperatures this morning are going to be in the upper teens to lower 20s. So keep that in mind. But tomorrow, as that cold front pushes through, We'll see our feel-like temperatures into the single digits as folks are heading out the door tomorrow morning for that morning work commute, or as the kiddos are heading out to that bus stop in the morning. Really keep that in mind because it's going to be very, very freezing. The actual temperatures will actually be in the 20s for Friday morning. So coming up in a bit, I'm going to talk more about that long-range forecast. We've got Christmas Eve rain ahead of us, so I'll have all the full details coming up.
All right, Chloe, thanks. The Kansas Bureau of Investigations reportedly clears 3 Southeast Kansas law officers of wrongdoing in a shooting death. Now, according to the Montgomery County Chronicle, the KBI has wrapped up its probe into the fatal shooting that happened last August. Coffeyville police officers had stopped a pickup driven by 33-year-old Derek Trotter and tried to detain him to serve a search warrant. The initial police report said Trotter resisted and tried to escape. It said 2 officers deployed tasers, but that Trotter continued to be combative. One officer fired 3 rounds, striking Trotter, who later died. Now, the Chronicle reports the Montgomery County attorney has announced charges will not be filed against the officers, saying the shooting was justifiable self-defense. The ongoing discussion regarding the future of marijuana in Kansas is set to continue in 2025. Now, a special committee has been tackling the topic every legislative session since 2021, and some are getting tired of it going nowhere for Kansas when surrounding states all have legalized at least medical marijuana. KOAM's Samantha Walker has more.
The Special Committee for Medical Marijuana isn't new in Kansas. For years, it's heard reports and testimonies from groups like the ACLU and the Kansas Cannabis Chamber of Commerce who support potential positive impacts.
Understanding that they are going to come into these meetings prepared and well-informed, and we're absolutely seeing the opposite of that.
On the other side of the aisle are law enforcement groups like the Kansas Bureau of Investigation. The director of the KBI in his testimony said he, quote, believes that legalization of marijuana, whether it be for medical or recreational purposes, would be a mistake that will cause increased criminal behavior, increased mental illness, and psychoses in our young adults, and will make our citizens less safe and less healthy. Another topic discussed includes financial impacts of legalized marijuana. In 2023, Missouri generated more than $1.3 billion in marijuana sales, according to the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services. Dispensaries like this have been popping up more and more often across Missouri, with many Kansans actually crossing the border to purchase products. The Kansas Cannabis Chamber of Commerce says people need to just look at Missouri to see the opportunities Kansas may be missing out on.
You guys are doing really well bringing in tax dollars and putting those funds into schools and public policies.
This year, the Kansas Special Committee voted against recommending legislation to their peers, but opted to see how other states continue to vote. The Kansas Cannabis Chamber of Commerce say they don't see a legal program coming to the state anytime soon.
We feel like these are performative, that these are not for, actually making critical decisions for the health and for just Kansas alone.
Reporting in Kansas, Samantha Walker, KOAM News.
Medicinal marijuana is expected to be a topic once again in the upcoming legislative session starting January 13th. And those are our top news stories this half hour. Coming up next, Captain William Davis shares a few tips to help keep you and your family safe this holiday season. And later, we'll hear the miraculous story of a couple of high school students who happen to be in the right place at the right time. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Welcome back. Captain William Davis of the Joplin Police Department is with us this morning with a few tips that will help keep you and your family safe this holiday season. Welcome to you and happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Appreciate you having us on.
Absolutely. So Christmas just around the corner. Talk to me about some of the safety tips that you want people to keep in mind when they're celebrating the holidays.
Yeah. So, I mean, Christmas season, unfortunately, is not a time that, criminals take a break. And
sure.
So, we're hoping that people can take these tips and kind of lessen the chance of being victimized this year. So, we're putting out this 9 p.m. routine, making sure that people go out and lock their cars, remove their valuables from their vehicles. We're getting a lot of theft from vehicles, especially around this time of year. So doing that, making sure your doors, windows are locked, closing those blinds, closing those drapes.
Sure.
And making sure exterior lighting's on. And it's just, all those, again, are just trying to reduce the opportunities and chances for criminals to, target your home, your vehicles, steal valuables, things like that. And then, coming up with Christmas, post-Christmas, it's one of those where if you have expensive, items, iPads, computers, TVs, those boxes, don't just leave them down at the end of the driveway, waiting for the trash man. People can kind of see what valuables you may have in your home, and kind of creates like a public shopping list for criminals. So it's one of those where we're be cautious of leaving those out and kind of advertising what items you may have inside your home.
Absolutely. Do you see an increase in car thefts and burglary, like home burglaries, this time of year, or is it just, are you just wanting to warn people so that you don't see an increase?
Yeah, it kind of comes in ebbs and flows, and it's one of those where, again, it's if we have people that are taking steps to secure their valuables, secure their homes, and kind of lessen those chances, those opportunities and those numbers and statistics go down.
Absolutely. Very, very useful tips there. And you also have a new program that the city just approved called the Take Home Car Program. Talk to me a little bit about that, and also the recruiting and hiring process as well.
Yes, so we're very thankful working with city staff and Joplin City Council. Moving forward, we think this is going to be a great recruiting tool to bring in officers to the Joplin Police Department. The Take Home Car Program is going to be, as we start to roll that out, we're going to issue those to officers, so it's just kind of an extra tool and kind of a recruiting tool to get people to come in. They'll have their own personally assigned vehicle that they can take home to and from work. So we just finished yesterday our badge pinning for our newest officers that are hitting the street.
Fantastic, yeah.
So we're gearing up for the next round of police officers. So we're always hiring. If you're ever interested in becoming a law enforcement officer, Joplin Police Department would love to have you. And join our family, and you can find more on our Facebook page or go to the City of Joplin's website at joplinmo.org.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being with us this morning, Captain Davis. Happy to have you. Chloe, we'll have a full look at your forecast when we come back. Stick around.
Well, welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. We're talking cold temperatures right now. Still a lot of folks nearing that freezing range to below freezing. 32 degrees for Lamar, Stockton, even around Veneta. You guys are still right on that freezing line, but as we warm up, we'll be above freezing over the next couple of hours. But we're still going to be pretty windy, especially around lunchtime. Right now, we don't have an extreme wind, but still notable, around 5 to 10 miles per hour across the 4 states. Now, around lunchtime, around noon, we could see wind gusts upwards of 35 to 40 miles per hour off in southwestern Missouri. Not as much as you head toward your further western counties, but they could still see wind gusts upwards of 30 miles per hour. So really keep that in mind for your lunch plans. May want to stay indoors. We'll see a break into later on this evening in terms of the wind before we ramp right back up into Thursday night. Early Friday morning, we'll see a cold front push through, and along with that front comes some hefty northwesterly winds with that. So between the wind, the colder temperatures, it's going to keep our lows in the 20s tomorrow morning. Our feel like temperatures this morning are going to feel like the upper teens, lower 20s. That's what we feel like right now. But tomorrow morning, once that cold front pushes through, although our actual temperatures will be in the 20s, our feel like temperatures are going to be in the single digits across the board. So a chilly, frigid morning for the 4 states tomorrow morning. So we're still cold today, but we're going to be even colder heading into tomorrow. As those kiddos are heading out to the bus stop this morning, we're going to have our temperatures in the 30s, 34 degrees. We'll have that southerly flow along with us, and then the latter half of the day, that'll switch off to a westerly wind, and we'll still warm up into the lower 50s. Clear skies for your afternoon, high 52 in Joplin. So we'll have really calm conditions throughout the evening aside from that wind. Again, that westerly wind will stick with us throughout the afternoon before we calm down in the evening. Temperatures in the 40s, 48 by dinner time, and then we'll cool down into the lower 40s by 10 p.m. But our low tonight, again, 24 degrees. That's because that cold front's going to push through Thursday night, Friday morning. We'll have a strong temperature gradient along with that, so it's going to cool down our temperatures really strong and really quick. Overall, our long range forecast, we're going to see a ridge set into place off into the western portion of the U.S., and that's going to even calm us down over here, where we'll see relatively calm conditions. No precipitation Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. We'll have partly cloudy skies throughout the weekend, but that's about as exciting as it gets. And then next weekend, we'll really begin to have more so of an active weather pattern along with us. We'll see rain showers pop up Monday night into Tuesday morning. That's Christmas Eve. So really keep that in mind for your Christmas Eve plans, especially if you have anything outdoors, because it will be a little bit on the warmer side. We'll see a break in terms of precipitation on Christmas Day on Wednesday, but then Thursday, Friday, and even throughout the weekend, we have all chances for precipitation on all of those days. So your 7-day forecast followed by your 10-day forecast. We've got chances for rain all day, every single day except for Wednesday of next week. Christmas Eve will be the only dry day that we'll see. Stick around. We'll be back.
Well, a high school history teacher in San Antonio says he owes his life to several students. He says he went into cardiac arrest and they helped save him.
Now he's back at school and able to tell the tale, as Megan Reyna reports.
Twice a week after school, a group of MacArthur teens are shredding it out in skate club.
This is, I think, our third year doing it.
And normally, 46-year-old history teacher Adam Compton is along for the ride.
He really does mean a lot.
And while on this December day, the club's beloved sponsor is having to sit this session out, Mr. Compton can't help but feel grateful, thinking about what happened more than a month ago.
I just remember kind of skating real mellow that day.
It was November 7th. His students say he had messed up a trick and started acting out of it. Eventually, they say Mr. Compton passed out and appeared lifeless.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience that no one should have to go through.
One student called 911. Several ran to get the athletic trainer, Amanda Boyd.
I turned him over and looked for a pulse, and I couldn't find any. And from there, I knew he needed CPR.
While Aiden Anthony Gonzalez and Stephen Amaro, both CPR trained, grabbed the defibrillator.
I got AED CPR certified a couple weeks before the actual incident happened.
Amaro says he helped Boyd place the pads on Mr. Compton and administer a shock.
Apparently that shock is what revived him.
Within minutes, EMS arrived. Mr. Compton would be okay, alive, because all the right people were in the right places.
I'm still processing how slim the chances were.
Weeks after the incident, Mr. Compton was able to come back to his history class in skate club, but with a new perspective on life.
It's really humbling.
As much as he's my teacher, he's also one of our best friends.
Incredible story. Incredible to see, and unbelievable that one of the students was AED certified just a week ago before that incident happened. Incredible to see.
It really is. And it just goes to show like how important it is to be certified.
Right.
I mean, you can never be too prepared for cases like this. You never know when it's going to happen. And again, like they said, right people in the right place at the right time. So very inspiring to see.
So true, indeed. Well, coming up, a former Missouri senator has been inducted to the Hall of Famous Missourians for his years of service.
And we have more cold temperatures on the way, but this afternoon we'll see another warm up, yet again above average for this time of year. I've got the details and your long range forecast coming up. We'll be right back.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:28. I'm Elise Snowy. Well, Tuesday, Missouri Congress gathered at the state capitol to induct former Senator Roy Blunt into the Hall of Famous Missourians. Now, for 12 years, Blunt served as a U.S. Senator before deciding not to run for re-election in 2024. Now, during that ceremony, Blunt was presented with a bronze bust in his likeness, which will find its new home in the Missouri Capitol hallway.
I've been really lucky, and I appreciate the good luck I've had and the good fortune I've had to work for Missourians at over an incredible 50 years now of public service.
Now, before becoming a U.S. Senator, Blunt was the Missouri Secretary of State, then represented Southwest Missouri in the U.S. House for 20 years. Well, students and staff at Knoll Elementary celebrated the completion of the school's new storm shelter yesterday. The shelter doubles as a gymnasium and is big enough to hold the entire Knoll community. Now, it's the fourth of 6 district-wide shelters funded by a $21 million no tax increase bond.
You can't put a price tag on safety, and you never know when you're going to need a storm shelter, but we're going to have one now at any time during the day or night that if our community or students or community members have the need for the storm shelter.
In addition to the new storm shelter, other completed construction projects at Knoll Elementary include a remodeled foyer and front offices. Well, students at Rise Elementary in Neosho, Missouri are spreading holiday joy with a generous donation to the pediatric unit at Freeman Hospital in Joplin. After raising $1,100 through a glow-in-the-dark concert, the students used the funds to buy fabric, make pillowcases, and fill them with toys. Yesterday, the students had the heartwarming experience of delivering 44 pillowcases full of toys to brighten the holidays for young patients and their families. Leaders say it's an excellent example of giving back to the community this season.
Every pillowcase has a sticker book, coloring book, a pair of socks, a fuzzy item like a stuffed animal. They have like a little fidget toy, and then there's a few other little random things in there.
We even got to sew our pillowcases, and we put ribbons on them, and we wrote notes. It was really fun.
The students also got the chance to meet and greet other healthcare workers and hospital officials. Now let's check in with Chloe for a quick look at the forecast.
Well, we've got colder temperatures this morning. Our winds are not strong, but notable coming from the south. That's going to eventually warm us up into the 50s this afternoon. But right now we're still hanging around that nearing freezing to slightly below freezing across the entire 4 states right now. We'll slowly start to pick up over the next couple of hours or so in temperature and in wind speed. Right now, a lot of folks are seeing anywhere from 5 to 10 miles per hour across the board. But eventually around noon today, we'll see wind gusts upwards of 35 to 40 miles per hour. This is in southwestern Missouri. It won't be as strong off into southeastern Kansas, northeastern Oklahoma, but they'll see some wind gusts upwards of 25 to 30 miles per hour as well. We'll calm down this afternoon into the evening before we see a cold front push through later on tonight, bringing our wind gusts upwards of 30 miles per hour. So our feel like temperatures this morning are going to be in the upper teens to lower 30s, but then later on tomorrow morning, when that cold front pushes through, we're going to have actual temperatures in the 20s, but feel like temperatures in the teens due to those gusty winds tomorrow morning, or excuse me, our feel like temperatures in the single digits. So very cold, mighty chilly, something that we don't always want to hear. So we're going to continue to see those colder temperatures. For the bus stop forecast, we'll see temperatures in the 30s this morning and then rising up to the lower 50s this afternoon. Now coming up in a bit, we're going to talk more about your Christmas Eve rain chances. We've got the full forecast, a pretty active change in the weather pattern next week. I'll have all of those details coming up.
All right, Chloe, thanks. Well, counseling is now available for students in McDonald County following the death of one of their peers. The 14-year-old was severely injured in an ATV accident and a few days later succumbed to his injuries. Now, in light of this tragedy, KOAM's Anthony Saviello spoke with local power sports and off-roading experts about the safety measures that should be taken when operating these vehicles.
Getting the chance to drive a vehicle meant to traverse off-road in places your everyday vehicle can't can make for some fun moments.
You just want to make sure you're getting it for what you want, whether you're using it for fun or you're using it for work. I'm going to be able to point you in the right direction in whether you're going with a utility ATV or a sport ATV.
No matter what you are using it for, there are risks that need to be assessed.
Make sure you are limiting that speed and just watching what you're doing. Four-wheelers are a lot more dangerous out on the roads than any of the side-by-sides that we offer. So you just have to be very, very cautious.
Caitlin Gilliland with Pitbull Power Sports says all off-road vehicles have age restrictions.
So legally, I am not allowed to sell a unit to a customer. Say if a customer walks in here and says, I have a 4-year-old kid that I'm looking to buy a 70cc four-wheeler for. I got to stop him right there and say, given you just told me the age of your child, the youngest one that I'm allowed to sell one to is 6 years old, so I'm sorry, but I can't legally sell this to you.
Staying safe on these vehicles is a shared responsibility with the drivers that you may share the road with.
So it's pretty much just like motorcycles. You know, you watch out for them. They're going to watch out for you if you watch out for them. Make sure that you're not going at high speeds. Obviously, that's going to be the safest option, but keep your eye out.
There is one piece of equipment Gilliland says is essential.
Always wear a helmet.
These vehicles can be a lot of fun, but the dangers they pose can be deadly. It's important that we educate ourselves and those around us so that way we can stay safe while enjoying these amazing machines. In Lawrence County, Anthony Saviello, KOAM News.
Now, according to the Consumer Product Safety Commission, between 2018 and 2020, 2,448 deaths were associated with ATVs and other off-road vehicles. Now, if you're curious about the off-road vehicle laws in your area, you're encouraged to contact your local law enforcement agency. And that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill scrap a spending bill that could avoid a shutdown. We'll have the latest from Washington. In Consumer Watch this morning, thousands of unionized Amazon workers walked off the job this morning as the International Brotherhood of Teamsters goes on strike against the company during the busy holiday season. Teamsters says the strike began at 6 a.m. Eastern Time. And Teamsters is demanding better pay, benefits, and safer working conditions for its members. There are nearly 10,000 Amazon employees, a part of the Teamsters Union, which represents about 1% of Amazon's workforce in the U.S. Well, GoFundMe has released its annual giving report for 2024. The crowdfunding site said that people increasingly sought help for essential expenses like housing costs. Now, that number quadrupled this year in the U.S. as inflation continues to trouble Americans. GoFundMe said in 2024, communities raised nearly $235 million globally for relief and recovery efforts after natural disasters. And more than $300 million was raised for those impacted by crisis in the Middle East. Well, 2 student loan repayment plans are once again options for borrowers. The U.S. Department of Education has announced it's reopening the Pay As You Earn repayment plan and income contingent repayment plan. Now, the PAYE and ICR plans set monthly payments based on borrowers' earnings and family size. PAYE offers the lowest payments to most borrowers. The Education Department has been trying to replace the 2 plans with a more generous one known as the SAVE plan, but the proposed plan has been tied up in litigation since July. Well, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, the U.S. is once again facing a potential government shutdown. House members are scheduled to return Thursday today to work out a plan, but the clock is ticking. John Lawrence reports.
Let me talk briefly about the funding of the government.
The threat of a potential government shutdown is hovering over Washington, D.C., and the clock is ticking.
We can avoid a shutdown. It'd be a very inopportune time to have a government shutdown.
Friday, December 20th is the deadline for Congress to keep the government funded, and the bipartisan bill House Speaker Mike Johnson negotiated this week is being scrapped.
We're still having conversations with our members, with a lot of other folks too, just to make sure that everybody's on the same page, but we are still talking about some good ideas.
The decision to start all over came after President-elect Donald Trump and Vice President-elect J.D. Vance issued a joint statement blasting the proposal, saying, quote, Republicans must get smart and tough.
House Republicans have now unilaterally decided
to break a bipartisan agreement that they made.
Meanwhile, the White House said in a statement, Republicans were playing politics over the funding issue.
House Republicans will now own any harm that is visited upon the American people that results from a government shutdown or worse. An agreement is an agreement.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
And that's a look at Consumer Watch. Let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
Well, welcome back and have a happy morning. Happy Thursday morning. Almost the end of the work week. We have cold temperatures this morning, so as you're heading out to that morning commute, bundle up, but that's not going to last long. We'll be pretty mild heading into this afternoon. Temperatures across the board, upper 20s, lower 30s. Joplin at 33, as well as Carthage and Lamar. Some folks are still hanging around that nearing freezing to below freezing range, so keep that in mind over the next couple of hours. We're going to slowly start to warm up, not by much over the next couple of hours, but this afternoon that southerly wind is going to really warm us up just a hair. 5 to 10 miles per hour for our winds right now, again coming from the south, but then around lunchtime they're really going to pick up upwards of 35 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts in southwestern Missouri. That's going to really begin to ramp up, and then eventually we'll switch off from a southerly wind to a westerly wind later on this afternoon. Will calm down, and then tomorrow morning we're going to see northwesterly winds, gusts upwards of 30 miles per hour. This is due to a cold front that's expected to push through tomorrow morning, early tomorrow morning, really while folks are still asleep Thursday night into Friday morning. So our temperatures are going to get pretty cold from that. So this morning we're feeling like upper teens to lower 20s, which is cold, but look at tomorrow how chilly will be. We're going to feel like single digit temperatures as you wake up Friday morning and head off to work. That's because that cold front is going to make our actual temperatures about 20 degrees or so, give or take, mid to lower 20s for across the 4 states. But our feel like temperatures single digits, and even then we're going to feel like 20 degrees, upper teens throughout the rest of the day on Friday. Now, as the kids head out to that bus stop today, this morning, we're going to have our temperatures still in the 30s, lower 30s across the 4 states. And then this afternoon, we're going to have those temperatures warm up into the mid 50s, sunny skies for your afternoon as well. Planning out that we've got lower 50s for our highs across the 4 states. Joplin 52 is your expected high for today. Now this evening, we'll see temperatures reaching down into the lower 40s by 10 p.m. But notice our low is actually going to be 24 degrees. That's because overnight we'll see that cold front push through, and we'll have a pretty strong temperature gradient really after everyone heads to bed later on tonight. So we'll have a strong change in temperatures by the time you wake up tomorrow morning. Overall, big picture, we've got a ridge system pushing off into the western U.S., and then that is really going to contribute to our calmer weather over the weekend before we see a chance for rain Monday night into early Tuesday morning. That is Christmas Eve, so keep that in mind. Rain chances will persist throughout early Tuesday, and then Tuesday afternoon that will push out of the 4 states. We'll see a brief break on Christmas Day, and then we'll see another round of rain chances Thursday, Friday, and even into Saturday and Sunday as well. And this is some pretty widespread rain that the models are tracking right now, so really keep that in mind. So here's a look at your 7-day forecast. Again, we're going to be calm over the next couple of days. Friday, a high of 36 degrees. Now over the weekend will be pretty seasonable for this time of year before we switch the picture quite a bit and have a pretty active weather pattern into next week. Stick around. We'll be back.
Well, now there's less than a week left to shop for Christmas, and some of you are completely ready and others haven't even started.
So why are some planners and others procrastinators? I feel that. Susan Elizabeth Littlefield takes a look.
It's a holiday we know is coming, so why the rush?
I probably should have got some of these gifts earlier.
I'm also shopping for Christmas gifts, but I actually got sidetracked and I've been shopping for myself.
There are a lot of reasons to get distracted this time of year and to
procrastinate.
Are you a procrastinator or planner?
I'm for sure a procrastinator.
Amitai Shanaf happens to be a published expert on the subject, and not just from personal experience. He's a professor at UC Berkeley.
In its traditional definition, procrastination literally means to put something off until later, to put something off until tomorrow. Were you able to persist in your willpower and kind of stick with a task in the face of temptation? And some of them define it more in terms of just whether you were able to get a task started early or whether you started it closer to a deadline.
Prime procrastination scenarios: shopping, studying, filing taxes.
I sit in a lot of thought for a long time.
Are we by nature procrastinators versus planners?
My understanding is that there is a genetic element to who ends up being procrastinator, more or less of a procrastinator. And one reason for that is that some people, there are differences between people in how impulsive they are.
He says planning can also be learned. Say a parent is in the military. Their kid may learn preparation young. But for most of us,
people, by and large, tend to procrastinate.
He referenced a large-scale study that shows 75% of college students say they procrastinate, data that matched our real-time research at Mall of America. Planner or procrastinator?
Procrastinator.
I'm more of a procrastinator.
I'm definitely a procrastinator. I don't like planning.
I need everything on time.
So you're a planner?
Yes, exactly. Plan everything.
This is not something that you are good or bad at, that is completing tasks or not. It represents this confluence of how you're representing the importance of things in your environment.
He says planning can be learned, so there's no time to waste.
Whew, preparation's perfect.
I am certainly, we were just talking during this package. We're not really planners. I'm more type B. I think about things, but doing, I don't know. I'm a procrastinator. I come from a family of procrastinators too. So it's genetic, I guess.
Exactly. It just goes over my head, and then I think, oh, I have all this time in the world, and then a couple months later, it just rides right up on you, and you're like, oh wait, I need to give these gifts tomorrow.
Right.
I need to figure this out quickly.
Still got a few more days left, Chloe.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. This morning I had to procrastinate a lot. I was procrastinating getting out of bed because it was so cold.
Oh, that's the best time to procrastinate.
I know, because you don't want to get out of bed quite yet, because those temperatures were so cold. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look at those right now. Our temperatures upper 20s, lower 30s right now. Who wants to get out of this? No one really does. So coming up in a bit, we're going to talk even more about these temperatures, how long they're going to last, and even our warmer temperatures this afternoon. We also have a long-range forecast in store for you coming up.
Well, here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. The KBI reportedly clears 3 Southeast Kansas law officers of wrongdoing in a shooting death in Montgomery County. The initial police report said 33-year-old Derek Trotter resisted and tried to escape detainment after his truck was stopped. He even became combative. Now, the Montgomery County Chronicle reports that the Montgomery County attorney will not file charges against the officer, saying the shooting was justifiable self-defense. Well, Kansas is set to once again discuss the legalization of marijuana in the next legislative session. Now, those involved in the discussions in Kansas say it's frustrating to see the lack of movement on the issue in their state. A special committee for medical marijuana voted against recommending legislation to their peers earlier this year. And the final phase of the Connecticut widening program is officially complete. The project expanded a 2.7-mile stretch of a 2-lane roadway into a 5-lane thoroughfare. A sidewalk and bike trail was added on the west side of the roadway. The goal of the project is to improve traffic capacity and safety.
Well, we've got a little bit of an above average temperature this afternoon for a high lower 50s across the 4 states. Then tonight we're going to dip down into the 40s before we reach a cold front. And then our low tonight is going to be in the 20s. So a quick dip in those temperatures later on tonight. Now overall, your long range forecast, we're going to see an active weather pattern next week. Monday, Tuesday is the first chance of showers that we'll see before we see a break on Christmas Day, and then rain chances all throughout the weekend next week.
We certainly need some rain, but this roller coaster that we're on, I've had enough.
Yeah, let's
Just
have
a little
some
bit.
consistent weather
Yeah,
at this point.
That would be
We're not
great.
going to get that,
No.
but yeah, let's hope.
Yeah. Well, it's beginning to sound a lot like Christmas, and it'll feel like it this morning too at Steadley Elementary in Carthage. Now, Fairview Christian Church hosted yesterday's sing-along event, and families gathered in the gymnasium while kindergarten through third graders sang holiday classics.
Audience members were invited to sing along. The event was so packed, many audience members had to stand the entire show. Oh, I love that. I bet those kiddos were so happy too.
It's one of the best things about Christmas is all of the Christmas pageants and shows and productions that they put on that the kids work so hard to put on, and it's great to see.
Yeah, they can just show off and have fun.
Super
now.
fun.
Yeah, so much fun. Well, thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. We'll be back with more news and weather at noon.
Have a great rest of your morning.